if it's because I'm using my phone or not. Let me pull everything up on here. Sweet. All right. Big Stacks family, what's going on? It's so good to see you again. We are here for my second live stream, so let's talk about a few things. I want to talk to you about a few videos I have coming up. One video I have coming up is the concept of a studio shop. So, Big Stacks has all this stuff on the wall. Everything from screwdrivers to specialty tools to the picture that my granddaughter did for me. And I go onto YouTube so much and I watch what other people do. And I see these shops that are pristine, everything's hidden, everything's in cabinets. And what's going on? That must be wood burning, the wood burning warrior. How you doing? But I see these shops that people have, and these shops are what I call studio shops. And that's Jeremy. Jeremy, what's going on? Hello to you too, my friend. Um, these studio shops that people have on YouTube, and it kind of frustrates me, and it was a big reason what kind of kept me from doing YouTube because I have all this stuff here and I have everything out, and I'm not putting any of it away. It's a shop that I use, and I feel that so many of these people think that they're going to be their shop needs to look like it's a studio shop, like something from WHRO or something like that. And if you look at Roy Underhill's shop, that place is somewhat of a organized chaos like mine is. Um, oh, Jim, your shop is a mess too. Absolutely. So that's one of the things that actually made me not even want to think about trying to hide stuff. I have messes that I like push to the side so I can shoot my videos and do my work, and then somehow they migrate to other from one workbench to the other. But what I want to do is uh, a friend of mine who lives up the street who actually has a YouTube channel as well. It's filmmaker Matt, film fanatic. I forget, film traveler Matt. So film traveler Matt, you'll see him on some of my comments. He lives up the street from me, and he said you should do a video about that because I've had people ask me to do a shop tour video. And I never liked doing shop. I never liked the idea of doing a shop tour video because so many people do shop tour videos. Mine's going to have to be different. So mine is basically going to be, hey, this is my workable shop. This is not a studio shop. And he told me to call it YouTube Fake Shops Exposed. So that's going to be my next video. Jim, oh yeah, wood burning warrior. Your workbench is trash. Your new workbench too. I saw that, man. Everyone's workbench is trashed. I fill boxes from the bench, then work. Jim, you know what? That's just the way we got to do it sometimes. If it's a clean, pristine workshop and workbench and all that, you either have too much room for everything, which if you have too much room, you're not really a shop person because a shop person is going to fill their shop with so much stuff that any shop that they have is going to be too small. I could have a shop the size of my house, and I guarantee you within 5 years it's going to be full. It's just going to be filled with stuff. Just that's how it is. If you're a true shop person, that's how it is. So my small shop tour is going to be of a working shop. It's going to be a true shop. Jeremy, yours is always a mess too. That's awesome, man. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. So that's kind of what I was working today. I was shooting video all day for that as I was cleaning my shop. This morning I woke up and I went and talked to film traveler Matt, and we talked about some different lighting ideas. So I tried some different lighting today with shooting my video. He actually has filmed a Super Bowl commercial, and he has filmed a full feature movie that, oh man, it was over 20 years ago. I just happened to go see his premiere. I didn't even know who he was at the time. I didn't know until I don't know, 6 years ago till he moved in. Didn't even really know who he was. But do you guys like the lighting the way it is now? I'm trying to if I put this light on, this is my overhead shop light because I'm half blind. It just gets so bright on me. So I've had to learn how to turn the bright lights that help me work off in order to shoot a good video. So if I turn that off, I seem to come out a lot better. I'm not like bleached out. A random person gave me a Makita palm sander for free this week. I was like, oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome. You got a palm sander. That's pretty cool. That's nice to hear that. You should do a video about that. Wood Burning Warrior does a lot of great videos. Her husband just built her this awesome workbench, which I'm completely jealous of. It's great. But she's been getting into leather craft. She does wood burning. She also, I believe, does carving. But Film Traveler Matt. So Film Traveler Matt told me, he made a promise to me. Film Traveler Matt has $10,000 worth of equipment. And he told me, dude, if you get to 10,000 subscribers, I will shoot a video with my $10,000 worth of equipment. I will shoot one of your videos for you. So, you guys, I need some help. I got about a little over 2,800 I just passed. But when I get to 10,000, Film Traveler Matt's going to help me out. So he's a solid dude. I like him. I don't think he's on tonight because he's got some other things going on. But let's see. 3 different ways to make one of my favorite gifts. That's another video I'm going to be doing. 3 different ways to make my favorite gifts. So I have a 9-to-5 job. And look, you know, I didn't even change. Look, I had Mexican fried ice cream. I got chocolate on me. Let me switch out my shirt real quick. I'm going to take this shirt off. Ooh. All right, so I have a gift that I give out at my 9-to-5 job. And this gift I give to all my customers that I work with, and it's a keychain. It's a customizable key fob is what I call it. Customizable leather key fob. The most recent download and the most recent email, which I sent out on yesterday morning, was an email to the people who are a member of my newsletter list that they get that free template. I'll be doing that video as well, going over this customizable key fob. And then my last video idea that I have is something that I call I Steal From My Wife. So I Steal From My Wife is going to be a series of shorts, possibly a regular long form video of me going in and stealing stuff out of the kitchen to use in the shop. So if you're just tuning in with us, I appreciate that you guys are here. And we've gone over a few different video ideas that I have coming up. Today I was working on my shop. I'm doing a shop tour for the first one. So, and then my favorite gift that I give away, my favorite leather gift, 3 different ways to make it. And also a concept called I Steal From My Wife. Trying to make a pirate patch. You want to make a pirate patch. It's funny. Later on in this video, I was going to ask people, hey, what do you guys want me to make? And maybe we'll work on getting some of those together. We're kind of running out of ideas that are non-sewing. Sewing is not my favorite part of leathercraft. And I've been debating on making a stitching pony, which is something that's basically like, it's like the you've seen woodworking vices and regular shop vices. This is kind of a leather worker's vice. It holds your stuff together while you stitch. I've been looking at making one. I think I might just buy one and modify it to my liking. Debating on what I'm going to do with that. Or maybe I'll buy one and eventually make one. But we're getting to the point where projects where you don't have to sew, I'm running out of ideas on that. And I want to migrate to ones. There's so many more. I have probably 5 times as more rattling around in the old noggin here of things you can make that have to be sewn. So we're gonna go over sewing, and I'm gonna have new plans available. Just real quick, I'm gonna work with you guys. Jeremy, I make knives and just started doing leather work. That's awesome, Jeremy. I would love. I have some knife blanks here. I'd love to make a knife and a sheath. I do woodworking. Woodworking has been my bread and butter since I was a kid. But I do woodworking, and I also do leathercraft. I made Mrs. Stackson knife many years ago, and a sheath to go with it. It was the first knife sheath that I ever made. It wasn't the most beautiful one, but he gets the job done. So that's awesome. And then I go to my husband's shop and take what I need. You know what? That you should do one I steal from my husband. That would be great. So I'm going to do I steal from my wife, a wood burning warrior. You do I steal from my husband. Clean for stitching is now because money is tight. Yeah, I totally get it. Money's tight. I saw for $20 there was a on Amazon a stitching pony. So I'm going to take a look at that and see if it's any good. And maybe I've never used one before. I mean, I've been doing leather work probably 6 years now, and I just hand stitch most of it. Just sit there while I'm watching TV. Never have used a stitching pony, so it might be an upgrade. It might not be an upgrade. We'll just have to find out. So that's what we're going to talk about in those videos. Also, big news. We have a I don't know if it's considered a podcast or it's going to be a live stream podcast, possibly, that I'm working on. And it's going to be something that's going to be on a somewhat fairly regular basis. And I've reached out to another maker. So I have this guy that I've been friends with for a long time. We've been friends since college. And it turned out we knew some of the same people. And he's always made things and done things art-wise. And we just kind of kept in touch over the years. And it turned out I moved into his neighborhood that he grew up in. And then he was living here, and then he moved out. No, I think he moved in after I moved in, and now he's moved out. But he lives just the next city over. And he's a phenomenal artist. We think about shops. We think about the disciplines that we want to do. And I'm glad you guys have joined us and already chimed in. He does so many things. He's a glass blower. He does metalwork. He does woodworking, and he's just the kind of guy that goes to yard sales and pick up old tools, or go to other people's estate sales, I guess, to pick up old tools. He says, I've been collecting leather tools for years, and I've always wanted to get into it. And I told him about the Big Stacks channel, and he was starting to get excited. And I reached out to him because a few different reasons. I don't like, I'm not a person that likes to, I like to be positive. I like to be a very positive person. So I definitely would want to, if I was to work on this with someone, it would have to be someone that is a positive person. I don't want someone out there that says to the, let's say people come in and they chime in and they say, I do this, I do that. And people think that, it's stupid. I think none of it's stupid, because anytime you create something, it comes from you, and it's a part of you that you're sharing with the rest of the world. So I always see that as a positive thing. So it had to be a positive person that I was going to do this with. It had to be someone that was very knowledgeable. And it was probably about 12 years ago. I started doing wood turning. And once I started doing wood turning, I bought the lathe and the wood lathe, and then I was hooked on that so much I started making stuff, and I'm like, what am I going to do with all this stuff? So what I did with all that stuff is I ended up selling it at a farmer's market, and he was the one I reached out to, because I know he had done a ton of art shows. He does all those different mediums, the glass blowing, he does woodworking, he does metalwork, and he puts these together and does sculptures. And he's very knowledgeable, very talented artist. And he was the one that taught me kind of how to set up your booth. And because a lot of these art shows that I used to go to, they want a shot of your booth, what it's going to look like, because they don't want just someone to set up folding tables and set them out, put tablecloths on them and say, hey, look at my stuff. Now you have to be kind of like original with it. So he's like, kind of stretch and think about what you're going to do. He definitely has an interest in doing this live stream with me, and we're going to talk more about it, trying to figure out how often we can do it. If it's just going to be me and him, sometimes it might be me and other people is what it's looking like right now, but it's going to be very exciting. He's a great person, and I can't wait to do this with him, and I definitely hope he hasn't changed his mind by now. I invited him to come check out the live stream to kind of see what we'd be looking at, but I think it's really awesome. Jim, Big, where are you from? I am from the state of Virginia, and I love Virginia because Virginia has the ocean and the beaches, and Virginia also has the mountains, which I love both of them. So every every year we go to the mountains, my wife and I, and we go to the beaches. We go camp at both of them, and so I'm actually setting up. I set up my bug out, my Leathercraft bug out bag. I'm going to create um, a workbench that's collapsible that I can take with me to both of them. So I could take it to the beach if I wanted to. It's not like on the beach, but there's some sand dunes in between me and the Chesapeake Bay, and the campsite's actually in a wooded area, so I would be working there. And then in the mountains, we get a cabin up there, but it would have to be a workbench that like I could like sit on and work, and maybe do bushcraft type stuff. So I'm gonna look into like somewhat of a shave horse, maybe like a bowl carving clamp hybrid, something of that nature that I can collapse down or take apart and put back together. So I could take it with me, travel up there, set it up. Might even have a space for a stitching pony if I decide that I really like stitching ponies. But that's what I'm be looking at doing that. Hopefully sometime this year. I wanted to do it this past year, but I didn't get around to it. And it's when I get away from everything, I like to relax and do things. So I've always brought Leathercraft with me, or wood carving or something of that nature. But look forward to that sometime in the future. But in the more near future is going to be the live stream. The live stream is going to be hopefully this month. I think he's going to be doing the broadcast from his shop. I'm going to be doing the broadcast from my shop, and we'll have like both of us on the screen together is what we're looking at, and we'll be talking to each other. We're going to see how that works. Maybe we have to be in the same room. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. All right. So, Jim, you live in Northern Illinois. That's awesome, man. Still pretty cold up there. And then Jeremy lives in West Virginia, so you're not far from me. The area that I like to go to, if you ever get a chance, is Crabtree Falls. The Crabtree Falls area is great. There's a cabin up there that I say the wife and I, Mrs. Stacks and I, and our dogs go up there as well. I'm trying to design combo stitching pony, shave horse, and spoon mule. That is what we need to talk about, Jim. You and I need to get together on that. If you want to, you can reach out to me on Big Stacks at bigstackshop.com on Instagram or Facebook, and I respond to messages on there, or the email address, bigstacks at bigstackshop.com. You can reach out to me at any of those. Interchangeable heads. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. I do want to build like an old school vise where it has the holes drilled into it, and then you put the piece in there, and then you take the two wedges of wood and kind of push them together, and it will like push out and tighten down. Because I've done some bowl carving from logs before. That was fun, and I like something that I can take with me up there. So we're going to do that. Something else that I'm exploring, the Stacks family has for many generations been workshop people. I have my grandfather's tools from both sides of my family. My mother's side of the family, he had a workbench, and he didn't do as much woodworking or the leathercraft. And to my knowledge, none of my family in the past has done any leathercraft. I was kind of the trailblazer in that as far as a member of the family doing it. But they've all done stuff, and that's the thing that I love about it. A shop doesn't have to be a woodworking shop. It doesn't have to be a leatherworking shop. It doesn't have to be anything but what you want to make it be, and the things that you like to work on. My mother's father spent a lot of time with electronics, and by electronics I mean old radios, old televisions that had tubes in them. He was able to fix those. He set up a radio. He took like car stereos and like kind of Frankenstein the stereo out of it, and it had like a tape track and like an 8-track player, and it was in an old like console television. So, and he kept that next to the pool table. So it's his idea of things he wanted to do were a little bit different. Excuse me. And that's what a small shop should be. A small shop should be anything that you like to spend your extra time doing. You don't have to make money at it. If you want to make money at it, that's great. If you want to gift it to family and friends, that's great. If you're repairing things for family and friends, that's great too. But the idea of a small shop is the place you get away from. You leave the stresses of life behind. So that's kind of what it is. So I want to find a way to tie my grandfather's, because I have tools from both of them, and tie that into this here, and might, if I can convince them, have big stacks on in here at some point. I don't know how camera shy he's going to be. Definitely an awesome guy, wealth of knowledge. That would be my father. He's a great guy. Um, I posted a video on Instagram one time. We were working on something together, and he was using the disc sander, and I was like, "This is big stacks," and a lot of people loved that video, so it was cool. Um, but I kind of want to find a way to tie them into what I'm doing, and maybe like have, because I have tools that people haven't seen for decades, and probably since like the 60s or 70s, some of these tools, and they're usable tools, they're cool, but um, they were just like technology that was around back then, and back then it was high tech, like Yankee push drill. I don't know if any of you know what a Yankee push drill is, but I think I have three of them in my shop. So stuff like that, bracing bit. You guys have seen my drill press. My drill press is older than big stacks. I think it's from like 1942 or 1943. It's a big cast iron Craftsman. My anvil, where's my anvil at? Here. The anvil was big stacks. My grandfather, and he did a lot of metalworking, and I think my dad told me he had built. Okay, my grandfather built a some type of jerry rig table saw at one time to do stuff, and my dad's like, yeah, that thing was dangerous. He's like, I don't know, but we always kind of done things, and he was from Europe, so we all have had those throughout years where people fixed their own things and made their own things with their shop, and that's the goal of Big Stacks Small Shop, is to reach out to people out there and try to inspire them to get things done. Try to relax from their day, decompress, find some enjoyment. Right now we work so much with computers. I've done the laser engraving, which is cool, but kind of getting back and working with your hands, and even sometimes opting out of power tools. That's one thing I like about leather crafting, is you can opt out of using power tools a lot easier, and than you can with woodworking. Woodworking, I mean, you can use hand saws and planes, but it becomes very labor intensive. I've had tennis elbow before from pushing a plane just over and over and over. A friend of mine had an Italian restaurant, and we made a pasta making station out of hard maple, and I hand planed it. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a man, be Gunga Din, and hand plane this whole thing. And I ended up with tennis elbow for a while that never kind of went away. So I'm going to reach back and see what you guys are saying out there. My husband has a hand plane from the late 1800s. That's awesome. That is awesome, wood burning warrior. Hand planes are really cool. They've kind of become a collector's item, especially when you look at like the Stanley Baileys, because they're kind of like the that's not even the Rolls Royce. It's kind of like the gold standard of hand planes was the Stanley planes, and but there's so many other different brands out there. You don't need a Stanley. I think I might have one Stanley here, but I got some long ones, and so many different planes so serve so many different purposes. But hand planes are cool. Woodworking's cool. I stopped woodworking when I got my current job. So my current job, I have to work on Saturdays because it's at a dealership. And I stopped working for a while, and I stopped woodworking because of that, because I couldn't go to the art shows and the farmers markets anymore because they're on the weekends. And another thing that always bothered me about woodworking was I couldn't find a mask that would fit me to where I could wear the mask and wear safety glasses as well, because my safety glasses would fog up. If you guys know of any, I've tried so many different kinds. I've had anti-fog glasses. I've had I have an issue. Maybe it's my mask that I wear, and it was before I had the beard, so it's not like, well, there's air pushing out down here. No, it's air comes up through here, fogs up my glasses. So if I'm on the table saw and I'm cutting wood all day, I can tell you what's going to win for safety. If it's going to be my lungs or my eyes, I'm not letting anything get into my eyes. And but I kind of stopped doing woodworking for a while. I did leatherworking, still do some woodworking here and there, but that really kind of got me away from woodworking. I loved woodworking, but that was the big thing was I don't want to breathe in the dust anymore, and I'm not going to stop taking the safety glasses off. And so I'm trying to find a solution that will work. In the interim, I'm still going to do some woodworking. I still do some woodworking right now, but the majority is leather work. But then I do all kinds of other stuff here. I made a video about like a garden fence that I had made, a gate from my garden fence, and I'm always in my garden, so I've done videos like that. But a small shop really is what you make it, and that's this channel has become a leatherworking channel because so many of the leatherworking videos have been very successful. So I kept at it, I kept doing it, but I'd like to transition and do some other different things. And I think this podcast is going to help test some of that out. I'd like to as well reach out to other people who make other things. I have a friend that makes dice. They make like different 8-10 sided dice, and they cast them, and some of that process is kind of cool. And then I've got a friend that's a blacksmith, and that process is kind of cool. He does blacksmithing and 3D printing, and so I thought those are kind of cool. I'd like to reach out there and grab different things because so many different things are cool. You're always going to find the one that you like, or the 2 that you like, or the 10 that you like. Like me, I have 10 that I like, maybe, I don't know. But there's also other things. Sometimes it's interesting to see what other people have. And I'm not talking about like these studio shops that you see where people, make that stuff. I'm talking about real people who do this. They might do it for a living, but even if they don't do it for a living, if they do it for a hobby and they do it a lot, they really know a lot more than your average person. And to me, it has more of a real feel than that studio shop, some of the stuff that you see on Facebook. So let's reach back down here. My husband uses a face shield respirator thing. He said basically his face is protected, but it's also a respirator. The wood burning warrior, if you could reach out to my Instagram and share with me a link to maybe Amazon where they have something, where have the one that he uses. Everyone's bugging me. My birthday's coming up, and I always tell them to get me something from my shop, but then they never know what to get me. So maybe I will take a look at that and see what I think of that. I'm not going to lose eye protection. I prefer not to lose my lungs anymore. I have breathed in a lot of dust. Some of the woods I've breathed in have had negative effects on me. One of them, I think it screwed up my sinuses, Paduke. I don't know if you've ever heard of Paduke. Paduke. It got in my sinuses, and they really haven't been the same after that. But I don't want to knock woodworking because you can still woodwork, and if you use hand tools, you're not going to have the same amount of dust. You'll have some dust, but you're not going to have the same amount. But the power tools make us so much more efficient, and I know hand planing, forget it. If I'd hand plane everything, I'm not the best at that. There's a guy named Paul Sellers. Now he has a studio shop. I believe it's a studio shop, but he does a phenomenal job. He is very talented when it comes to using hand tools. And so Paul Sellers, if you ever get a chance to check him out. But there's so many others out there, and woodworking's like a dime a dozen. So there's so many. It's just really popular, though. It's probably one of the most popular craft formats that's available, especially like primarily like a male type of craft that men do. It's not like, I don't know, needlepoint or knitting. It's traditionally a woman's craft. But I've known plenty of women woodworkers and wood turners and leather workers, and I've known men that have done needlepoint. It's not my thing, but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. I mean, whatever you find a relaxation in and whatever you enjoy doing, that is what's important. It doesn't matter. There's nothing gender specific, but I do tend to prefer some of the more traditional male hobbies. You're starting to sound like ADHD. I have so many tools. Oh, starting to sound like my ADHD. I have so many tools. My husband doesn't know what to do with me. There's nothing wrong with tools as long as you're using them. I've bought tools to use just one time in the store. I bought tools because they were on sale, which was not. Could be a smart move if you think you're going to get some good use out of it. There's probably a couple of tools in my shop that I've never used. I'd really have to think hard. I don't know if I. That'd be a good video. Tools that I've never used. Pretty much everything I've used at least once. Most of them multiple times. Some of them a lot. So I could probably go in that red tool chest there and maybe find some of the stuff that that I've never used. You know what I haven't used? So I bought this magnetic block that goes on your table saw blade, and you can get the perfect angle with it. And I thought it was on sale. I thought it was kind of cool. So if you want to tilt it completely perfectly 45 degrees, you just go you can dial it into the exact 45.0 degrees. I've never used it. That's one tool that I've never used. Majority of the tools I've used at least once. Some tools I will buy at an estate sale because it's an old tool, and I still may not have used some of them. Actually have I don't know if it was, I think this one came from my grandfather. I actually have a screwdriver that is meant for hand saws. So something like that, I hung on to. I don't know if I've ever used it. I don't think I have, but if I ever want to redo the handle on a saw, I have the specific, and it's not super important to have the specific width and thickness of screwdriver for that. But if you want it to look nice and you don't want to chew up the common screw that goes in there, it's always good to have a screwdriver that's specifically designed for it. And Jay, oh, you're the one that said the ADHD. It doesn't know what to do with you. And then I use all of mine: home, owner, and crafter. That brings up another point. So in my video, I started working on an introduction for the YouTube Fake Shops Exposed. Everything in my shop does serve a purpose, and there are so many different purposes in one shop. If you are a homeowner, you're going to have tools that are just for homeowners. I have a plumbing toolbox. I have, and it just has plumbing supplies in it. I have electrical tools for doing electrical work. I'm starting to get some specialty tools, like I have something that you could test and refill the AC on a car. I have a couple different car tools, and one tool that I never thought I would get, but I love them now, is the ratcheting box wrenches. I never thought I would get. I always thought, man, how hard is it to turn and then pick it up and then turn again? Well, I started getting in motorcycles like 5 years ago, and when you're working on a motorcycle, everything's tight. So I talked to a friend of mine that was a Harley Davidson Master Tech, actually. And he's the type of guy that you could ask him questions and he'd say, yeah, you might be able to do that yourself. Or he was like, you want to take it to someone to do that. And I asked him, I said, I'd like to find a set of ratcheting wrenches. And he told me, he said, go with, oh man, the name's escaping me at the moment. Let me pull them out. Go with, and now I'm gonna need my glasses. Let's see what we got. It sounded like my HD. You use a rotary punch often? I was thinking about buying one, although I already have hole punches that I tap. I do not use a rotary punch. I do not like rotary punches, but we'll talk in a second about the benefits of using a rotary punch. There are benefits, and I do have one, and on occasion I will use it given the circumstance. Now, Mrs. Stacks is into horses. She spent a lot of time with horses, and horse people love rotary punches. So when I bought someone's old leather working tools one time, she looked in the box and she said, this is mine. And she pulled out the rotary punch. But there was like 2 or 3 rotary punches in there. But horse people love making adjustment on the fly. It's great for something like that. This is, oh, for Pete's sake, gear wrench. Gear wrench is the best. He said gear wrench is what the Harley Davidson Master Tech, that's a friend of mine, recommended. He said, I'm getting ready to get some. They were the ones that invented the ratcheting box wrench, and they hold up well. He has Snap-on tools, and he is a professional, uses his tools every day. Sometimes he says Snap-on's worth it. Sometimes he says you can find other tools, and it just makes the Snap-on look overpriced. Not that the Snap-on's not a good tool. It doesn't have benefits over the other tools in some cases. But at the same time, he said some of the Snap-on tools are better than the other ones. But they can be very expensive. Gear Wrench was a great set of ratcheting box wrenches. So let's talk about the rotary punch for a second, and I'll give you a breakdown of my thoughts on the rotary punch. Let me see if I have one available here. I have. It's not a rotary punch, but it does kind of the same thing. I have one like way out here. So the rotary punch basically looks like this, except for it has a wheel up here, and you can change your different punches. This is more of like a stitching punch right here. Let's see if you guys can see that. Now the stitching punch is a great way to do punches over and over and over again. And the rotary punch, you can do the same thing. If you're going to get a rotary punch, you want to get a rotary punch that's not a beginner, I guess a low price rotary punch, because the wheel can come offset, and then you're not punching in the middle of your thing anymore, the middle of your little anvil here. See, this anvil's brass, and I would just rather use, I can control a punch better that you hit down. I could press it in there, take a look and make sure it's centered, and then set it back in the exact same spot and smack it. I use my workbench a lot. Rotary punches are good if you're like, I have one of the Big Stacks family of makers said he always kept a little bag with him and always had projects that he worked on. He did stitching, so he would punch holes with like a rotary punch and use that. I like striking onto, I have something called a poundo board. You could use another piece of leather on the back, but it keeps your punches from getting dulled. Well, if you see this right here, there's that brass anvil there. And brass is softer than the metal that's there, but it's still going to wear down over time. And I think that it'll wear down faster with that. Sometimes I will put a secondary piece of leather behind it so I can get through that first piece of leather. But rotary punches are good for like a travel bag, if you have a travel bag, or if you don't do a lot of leather craft and you don't really have like a nice big work surface. I really think having a solid workbench, a poundo board, and the hand punches is really what I prefer. I prefer something like this right here. I'll take this, take a non-mooring hammer. That's how I punch my holes. Always have something on the back so you don't dull out the punch itself. But if you want to get a rotary punch, they are good, and a lot of people do love them. For me, it's like a personal preference. I feel more comfortable and I have more control without the rotary punch, but it is nice, something nice to travel with. If you're not always going to have a workbench to work at, and in that case, like the gentleman that would take his projects and his needle and thread, and he had a punch just to punch stitching holes. That's great. I think that's better than my last video I did. I debunked leathercraft myths, and one of the myths was, hey, I just want to use an awl to punch holes in leather for stitching. And I was like, yeah, I don't really like that. Someone did comment on the video, said I use it all the time and have no issues. I just think that like an awl pushes, it's just got a point on it, so it pushes and it would like forces open the hole is what it does. A punch cuts the hole. It cuts like a circular hole. It's like a right there, and it cuts the hole out, and you pull the plug out. So it's a lot cleaner, and it looks a lot nicer when it's done. My opinion, again, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and just because I say it doesn't make it right, but if you find something that works for you, I say stick with it, man. There's so much out there. I put my rotary punch in file 13. Larry, I love it, man. Larry, good to see you. File number 13. Every time I clean out my shop, I think, what can I throw in file number 13? Because I have so much junk around it. And then the only thing that ends up in file number 13. Let me look right now. Let me look and see what's in file number 13 right now. For those of you that don't know, file number 13 is a trash can. I've got the middle of a paper towel roll, some pieces of paper, and some coffee pods, and that's about it. Since the Big Stacks Workshop is my secondary office, not only is it my secondary office, I spend a lot of time here and I love coffee, but it's like my hangout, not even just like a woodworking shop or a leather shop, or it's I spend a lot of time. I just hang out here sometimes and screw around on my phone, and I have a coffee machine in here, an espresso machine. That's probably the only shop I've ever seen. Now there's tools, all kinds of tools, all kinds of shops, but I think I'm the only one that has an actual espresso machine, and it's the Nespresso one with the pods. But I have an espresso machine in my shop. I love coffee and I love my shop that much. Just an update in case you chimed in. There's a few more people that have come in lately, and I want to kind of catch everyone up to speed. I talked about some of the video ideas, some of the videos I've been working on. Working on exposing YouTube fake shops. I'm not really exposing fake shops, but I am going to, the idea of a studio shop that's all pretty and everything's in cabinets and you don't see anything, and they get up there and they talk, or all the tools are perfectly set up. That's not me. That's not my style. I have issues with the fact that I don't think that they go on there and they do any work there. Half of them, I just see them stand in front of a bunch of tools and just talk. And I spend a lot of time talking in my shop, but I spend a lot of time working in my shop too. I have all my stuff out. I've made no amends for the fact that it sometimes looks messy, and I actually prefer it that way. I do not want a video with a studio shop ever. I do not. I want, if you look at Mythbusters, I forgot his last name, Jamie and Adam. So Adam has a YouTube channel, and his shop is filled with bins of stuff everywhere, tools. You know, they're put up, but it's still, there's stuff everywhere, and that's the way a usable shop should be. Something that there is stuff everywhere. So I'm going to expose those fake shops by just giving a shop tour of my shop and the mess that's here, but the reasoning behind everything. I'm going to talk about my favorite gift, which is the customizable leather key fob. And there's 3 different ways that I've made it, and I'm going to go over all 3 different ways that you can make it. And if you are a member of the Big Stacks family and that you get the newsletter, if you don't get a newsletter, I'll put a link in the description below, or most of my other videos have a link in there to join the newsletter. You get free leatherworking plans. I update you on the videos I have that come out. And the last one that I sent out was yesterday morning, and it had the plan in there for the customizable leather key fob. It had the plans in there for it. So I've sent free, not plans, they're templates, 3 free templates. I share everything that I try to do. I try to share with you guys. Now, I was sharing everything, and I had a whole bunch of templates. I'm scaling that back to maybe like the most recent, like 3-4 templates, to maybe, I don't know. We're working on that, and I'm pulling the other ones off. So if you want them, you have to sign up when they are available. And you can join that mailing list even if you're already on the mailing list, and you'll get the most updated list of plans. So I'm doing a video series called I Steal From My Wife. I steal from my wife. And I don't really steal from her, but I will go in the kitchen and I will pull things out of the kitchen. Sometimes in an emergency, and sometimes not in an emergency, or I will just buy things at the store. I mean, I bought at a yard sale. I picked this up. It was at a yard sale. I'm a motorcycle guy. It was at a swap meet, and there's all kinds of everyone sells all their motorcycle parts that they took off their bike, or that they don't use, or helmets, or t-shirts. And someone actually had this sitting out. This is a muffin tin that was 50 cents, and I was like, that's mine. It's got my name all over it. 50 cents. Here's your 2 quarters. Thank you very much. When I get home, I'm going to put all my little hardware and rivets and different things in here. So I could put this type of hardware here, this here, and make a bunch of projects. And bam, 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 take whatever I need. Keeps it all separated. Keeps it all in one small place on top of the workbench, so they don't go rolling around and under the workbench, where I will spend 15 minutes looking for half of a rivet that fell into my workbench way under there, and I'll dig around there forever and try to find it. I'll waste 15 minutes doing that instead of just saying it's lost and going and get another one. So those are some things that we're talking about. Let's see what we got. We have a refrigerator. Wood burning warrior. I have a refrigerator in mine too. I've got soda in there. I've got turkey that's probably been frozen for 2 years in there. We were gonna smoke it, I guess. Never got around to it. I've got carbonated beverages that I made. I hesitate to say, let's just say they're adult beverages, carbonated adult beverages that I made that are in there, and carbonated kids and adult beverages that are in there that I did not make. I think Dr. Pepper and ginger ale. I love Dr. Pepper. And got some water in there. I keep water. We have a water cooler in the house, and I'll fill up like old water bottles and stick them in there, which I use to put in the espresso machine, which is cool. And yep, I have that too. The refrigerator is definitely there. Raptor Gaming really just depends. Most beginners do start with hole punches and patterns from people like Diesel Punk Row or Creative All, which have holes marked along the edge for stitching. Yeah, absolutely. I am going to start making plans with stitching holes on it. I don't know if I'll probably put the holes on it. We'll see. I'm not sure, or I might just do the outline, because you just have to do the pattern, and then you can always draw using a wing divider. You can draw where your stitches are going to be, or running a stitching groover over it. So we'll go over a bunch of different techniques that I know. Now, I am not a leatherworking guru. I am not a woodworking guru. I feel that maybe I'm intermediate at both. There are people out there that have mastered these things over a lifetime. There are people out there, I was having this conversation the other day. You can go all around the world, and if I ever become a big YouTube star, which, it might happen, it might not, but if I get to the point where I'm at like the top level, what I would like to do is go around the country, and I would hit up places that are in remote corners of the world where they're maybe not so remote, maybe they sell to tourists, but there are people there that use the most primitive tools, there's nothing fancy about their tools. They use the most basic tools. They use cheap tools. And they make the most beautiful things. And this debunks the myth. This debunks the myth that happens on this channel all the time. When people post on there and say, Big Stacks, the tools that you're posting up there are wrong. People, I don't care if they're beginners, they shouldn't use it. No one should use a utility knife to cut leather. Well, I got news for you. There's people all over the world that do this. They use basic tools to make this stuff. They use custom tools that they've made to do this stuff. They do not go out and buy the $300 knife to cut and do what they have to do. And they make the most beautiful work. And they do it for a living. They debunk that myth. And I would love to go around the world with an interpreter like the Indiana Jones of small shops and go talk to all these people and interview them and talk to them about their craft. And I think that would be an amazing thing. That's years off. If it ever would happen, it'd be nice if I could do that one day. But that would definitely be cool. Just go around the world, talk to these people, talk to these crafts people from around the world that make all these custom things and make it with next to nothing. I saw a guy one time, it was a video, I don't think he had any arms, and he was turning wood on a lathe using his feet. And it was better than anything I've ever turned on my lathe. So again, I'm not an expert in anything other than wanting to do the best that I can, wanting to do the things that I want to do. But I love it when I get in the shop, and I want you guys to get in your shop and make things. So that's the reason I do the things I do for you. That's the reason I do the things that I provide for you. Wood burning warrior. I finished a scissors holder, my first hand stitched, tooled, and dyed project. That is awesome. Congratulations. That is great. I mean, get adjusted in my seat. I had a customer at my regular job reach out to me and ask me. He said, you do leather work, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, could you make me? He's a fisherman. He's like, he fishes. That's his hobby. And motorcycles and fishing. Mine's motorcycles and shop stuff. But he says, can you make me a sheath for my fishing pliers? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it, man. Just let me know. So he's going to bring me that. That might actually be featured in a video, which reminds me, there's something else. Okay, hold on. I am going to show you guys something. This is cool. So this gets into the people do these things to unwind. People get in their shop to unwind. That's what I would inspire people to do, because I've enjoyed it so much, because I know other people that enjoyed it so much, because people for generations have enjoyed it for so much. And I'm going to show you something that I came across. I had someone reach out to me. Now, I've done furniture restoration semi-professionally for years. It's kind of like a side gig for me. And I've done that. And I, I had someone reach out to me, a friend of mine, and he said that my grandfather made this, and I've been hanging on to it, and I want something done to it. I want it to A, be fixed, and B, look better. And we can talk about it a little bit, but I do want to show you guys, and we can grab it. I might even have to adjust my camera. We'll see. So there are master craftsmen that have been making things for years for hobby in their shop, and this guy's a little older than me, and it was his grandfather's. But I'm going to pull this up. So can you guys see this? Let me back it up. This is, bring it down just a little bit. This is a miniature dresser, and you can see it pulls on it right here. It's got nails missing. So we did a little research on it. It's made very nice. It's not doll furniture. It's just like a miniature version of a dresser, and it has a hutch that goes with it too that I'm working on. And this is what's so cool about a small shop. Not even the fact that the guy made these things, but I'm gonna share something with you guys. I don't know if it's a dresser. It's probably a hutch, but the guy not only made these, he made this with. We started doing the research on the wood. I looked in one of the drawers, and let's see if I can even see it. I don't think it was in this one. One of these drawers, the wood itself was branded with the Sunkist logo. Quick question is, anyone out there have any idea why the wood on this dresser was branded with the Sunkist logo? I'm going to let you guys think on that for a minute, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this piece. It's such a great piece of craftsmanship. Some of this is hand carved. If you look at this door, this is all machined. So this was made with a router. This right here was hand carved. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's not a perfect arch. All that was hand carved. He needs another door made. So I need to figure out what kind of wood this mysterious Sunkist wood is made from. Any ideas yet? Why would a piece of wood in someone's shop that was a homemade item, why would something like that have the Sunkist logo on it? But he wants me to fix this, and then he wants me to maybe clean up a little bit. And I've told him I'm gonna bring it back up. Bring the camera back up. I told him that I'm not going to strip it down and refinish it. One, I don't like doing that. I'll bring it down just a hair more. One, I don't like doing it. I don't like stripping anything, because it looks brand new when it's done, but it's not a brand new piece. And you should be proud of the fact that it's not a brand new piece. If it's a family heirloom, if people have used it, if somebody's carved their initials in it, that's a piece of your family history or someone's family history, and it's part of what makes this a living, breathing thing. It's not like something you can go buy at the furniture store now, unless you go to a high-end furniture store. It's living, breathing. It has life. It tells a story, and I would never want to strip everything down and get rid of that story. So let's see. Florida citrus, orange tree wood. You're close. You're getting there. It's not. I don't think it's not orange wood. The wood is not made. Well, it's probably not made from orange trees. But we're getting closer. Don't get rid of the patina. I am never going to get rid of this patina, Anne. I loathe the idea of covering up a patina. I might touch it up in certain places where it's damaged. I might try to match those pieces, and I might do some of that stuff, but some of this is I'm gonna have to put new wood on there, and there is some type of finish on here. I haven't done enough digging to see what it is. Okay, but I will tell you guys, Sunkist logo on the inside, which I don't know if it was done intentionally or unintentionally, because it was a very, very subtle brand on it. So back a long time ago, Sunkist, I believe I'm not 100% on this, but Sunkist, I believe, was a conglomeration of farmers that were orange grove farmers, and they started the Sunkist brand as a way to sell their oranges from this particular area or from their group. And it was like you can chip in money and do marketing, but it's like kind of like their trade group. Um, the oranges used to come in wooden crates back in 50s on back, 60s, maybe 60s. I know 50s on back. They would come in crates. So these crates were made out of wood. Where it gets where it's going, people would take that wood, and it was essentially just like people today do pallet wood, which I don't agree with. That's a whole nother topic for another time. But they would take that wood and they would do stuff with it. And this gentleman he made more than this. There was like 7 or 8 pieces that were like this that he had made. This is the only one that's kind of seen some age. But they would actually use the wood from the orange crates because it was free wood, and they would use it to make things around the house, whether it was something like this, which is a beautiful piece of work, or whether it was something functional in their home. But it was basically free wood, the concept of free wood. And it's genius. It's genius. I need to do some more research and find out what it is. It does not look like it's, I don't want to jump to any conclusions. It looks like it's some type of pine or fir or something like that. But I don't want to jump to that conclusion, but it doesn't look like it's a hardwood. And I haven't tried to, it feels like it's not a hardwood. It doesn't feel like it's a dense wood. It doesn't have that weight to it. It has kind of like like a lighter feel, like something that's hollow, you know what I mean, versus something that's dense and heavy. So I think it might be some type of pine, but what I do not want to do is, and these go under here somehow, is use the wrong type of wood on this. I don't want to use the wrong type of wood. I want to use the exact same wood that was on it before and make some new pieces. And I might have to figure out a way to finish them so they look kind of close. It's kind of really hard to match stain. I've done it before, and I've done it successfully before, and to the point where I've told people that I can do it, and then I run into a situation where I can't do it because the table in question was a inexpensive table, and it was not designed with just a hardwood and then a finish on it. It was a manufactured finish is probably the best way to put it. It was hardwood underneath, like a plywood maybe, which is fine. I'm not against plywood, but it was a manufactured finish, almost like a paint on top and then a print or something. And I don't like those. So I got away from furniture restoration because it's just people want to fix stuff that shouldn't even be fixed. It's the throwaway furniture that we get nowadays. You buy a dresser for, I don't know, $80. It's like taking something from IKEA and trying to refinish it. Doesn't really make sense. But people they rely on it, and I fixed it for friends before. But I'm very picky about the work I do, and I've kind of gotten away from it because even the stuff that looks decent sometimes it really isn't good furniture that you can fix and refinish. And it's sad to say that we've gotten to a point like that in this country. Donnie Johns. I used 2 foot 1x12. I use when I go on vacation. Used 2 foot long 1x12s. You have a 2 foot long 1x12 that uses a table. That's great, man. I think that's awesome. That's kind of what I want to use a 2x12 or some 8/4. I don't know if I want to make my travel workbench. I was talking earlier about, if you just joined us, I was talking earlier about when I go on vacation, I go camping with the wife and with Mrs. Stacks and the rest of the Stacks family, which would be our dogs, short stacks, super stacks, and skinny stacks is what I call them. Um, but we go on vacation together and we go camping, and whether it's near the ocean or in the mountains, it'd be nice to have like kind of a collapsible workbench I could take with me. Hardwood would be ideal, but hardwoods also gets kind of heavy, and when you're hustling around trying to move a lot of stuff out of the bed of a pickup truck, and it would be kind of a relief to have a lighter weight piece of wood that is the top of my workbench versus something that's heavy and heavy duty. So we'll see how that goes. Plus, if I make it out of something like Southern Yellow Pine or something, I'm going to care less if it gets beat up. I sweat messing up good wood because it's expensive, but I do have some 8-quarter red oak that I could try. So I want to take a moment and find out from you guys. I've had a request to make a golf scorecard holder. So one of my here recently, someone asked me if I can make one of those. I said, sure, send me what you're thinking about, and I can try to work that into one of my videos. Is there any other project? This is my questions to you guys. Is there any projects you guys would like to see? Is there anything you would like to see me make? I'm super complicated stuff. I'm not going to do one because the video would have to be probably too long to do it. And I try to appeal to the beginners because my goal is to not show you the coolest thing that I can make, and you relax by watching that, which it's very good and very therapeutic. And there's a lot of great leather workers that I enjoy watching. But my goal is to do things that you can do at home and to offer you those free Leathercraft templates. And when you get them and the project's a fairly easable, doable project, now you can kind of get started on your own and kind of blossom from there. So anything that you guys would like to see, please do let me know. And I have a website that I'm getting ready to set up, bigstackshop.com. Right now, if you go to bigstackshop.com, it redirects you to the YouTube page, but I'm going to end up having a website. There's not going to be boatloads of information on there. There's going to be a newsletter sign up. I might put some of my old plans for very, very inexpensive purchase, because it does take time to do a lot of this stuff. And I'm not looking to make big bucks off of this, but to recoup the investment of my time would be kind of nice. I would like to do that. But at the same time, there's people out there that you have to pay for plans. And, that's, you can get those plans, and I'm trying to be at a lower price point. Again, I want people to get started. I'm more than willing to give free plans. Anyone that's followed me from the past few months, you've had the ability to get those plans all along. And if you haven't received the plans yet, please do let me know. I'm more than willing right now to share those plans with you. If you've watched this video and you've commented in this video, I will give you those free plans. So even if you're watching this a year from now and you're watching this video, I'm more than willing to give you those free plans. But it's getting to a point where I'm having a backlog. My free plan list has been pretty long. I'd like to shorten it down so it's at least the most recent one, and then the other ones are probably going to be available for purchase. And it's probably going to be like $1 or $2. It's not going to be expensive per plan, and but it's just something to kind of recoup some of my time. So, is there anything out there that people would like to see me make, or would like for me to make the patterns for? Not patterns, plans, template plans. And if you are just joining us, or you've come in here recently, I am going to do a live stream, a podcast, something to that nature. And I'm going to be working on it with a good friend of mine who's actually helped me along my way as a craftsman. And we've kind of grown up together since college. So since college, we've been buddies, and we kind of supported each other with different things. And we're going to talk about just small shops in general, all the cool things you can make in a small shop. Having a multi-function shop is another thing, one where you have different disciplines that you kind of dabble in, maybe you bring together. He has been the art. He is an accomplished artist. I think he's actually won Best in Show in a couple of art shows, and he does mixed media, which is mixed media sculpture, which is bringing some of these different disciplines like glass blowing and woodworking and metalworking together to make like functional pieces of art. You do any tooling on leather? I do some tooling on leather. I like the basket weave stamp. I always thought the basket weave stamp looked kind of cool. I have done a couple of times, not many, um, carving with a swivel knife. My problem with that is there's so many cool things that you can make, but the majority of the free patterns and the beginner patterns is all the Western style, where it's like flowers and the little swirls and the scoops and acorns, and it's a Western style. I'll tell you who does a phenomenal job with it. If he's watching this, if he ever watches this, man, you are a great leather worker. You are my favorite one to watch. Um, as being a master of your craft, he's a saddle maker named Don Gonzalez. He does a great job at that stuff. But that stuff never really appealed to me. So I do some tooling. I do some carving and tooling. Um, but I haven't done a lot of it. And I've kind of had to come up with my own patterns. Now, given my, so I do, part of my job at work is graphic design. I do graphic design, I do video editing, I actually do financial stuff too. So I do a mix of a bunch of different things. But I have kind of come up with some of my own drawings and designs, and get, given what some of my interests are, I also work in the motorcycle industry. So um, working with motorcycles, being around motorcycle people, obviously tattoos is a big thing within the motorcycle community. Um, the idea of the old school, like Sailor Jerry type tattoos. I don't have any tattoos, but um, they've always appealed to me. Those old school looking tattoos. If you haven't looked, if you don't know what Sailor Jerry is, look it up. But what I want to do is I want to do some of those drawings and tool them onto leather, and even get to the point one day where I'm making murals. I think that would be really cool, and even painting them some. I'm looking in to get some of the leather paints to try painting leather. Um, and I would love to draw my own artwork like that and then put it on like a wallet or put it on a motorcycle seat. Maybe paint it, maybe not paint it. Maybe just use antiquing, which I'll go over some. I use a lot of antiquing. At anytime that I do tooling, I like to use antiquing because I think it gives like that. It gives even more depth to what it is. Even if the antiquing ends up coming off over time, which it does. Um, I still think when you first make it, it gives it that kind of like aged look, gives it some depth, gives it some character. So I do like the tool. Um, I have a technique that I use that's probably kind of your basic technique. Um, but like I said, the basket weave's a great one. I love the basket weave. I've picked up the ones that looks like the little dragon scales. It's kind of like a, I don't know if it's a mule foot or not. It's kind of shaped like this. There is a mule foot stamp, but it's more of like a scale pattern. You'll see a lot of the scale stuff when people do medieval type leather armor, and they'll have the scales on there. It looks like dragon scales or something, or reptile scales, fish scales, whatever. It looks kind of cool. I like some of that. I'm going to look around. I'm going to look around my husband's shop to see if I can find stuff I can use for stamps that he won't miss. That's an excellent point right there. So I'm just going to say this, and this video was being made at one point. I was making a video that I'm certain no one had ever made, and it was about, now people have had where they made their own tools. I've seen there's a guy on YouTube that's made them out of like, I don't know if it was cow or buffalo bone. He took like the shin bone and made stamps out of that. Or people take not carriage bolts, hex bolts, and they will carve the head with a Dremel um, or I don't know if it's by hand or whatever. They'll saw stuff off, and they'll make their own tooling pieces. Um, but mine was even probably more unique than that, and hopefully I get to make it. But I was in the middle of making that video when I heard the worst advice I had ever heard about leatherworking from an expert. And I made that video in October, and it dropped it in October. And that video is how many of you found me. So I still have to make that unorthodox leatherworking tool video. It's coming. As a matter of fact, I found this tool when I was on a trip to the beach with my wife. While we were out there, I found this tool, and it's in her way, so she's gonna be bugging me to make that video now. But this is how most of you guys found me, and this brings me to another point. We have this is the first that's the first video I've ever made a sequel to, and that sequel dropped on Friday. So if you haven't seen it yet, please watch that video when we're done here, and we'll be done here in a couple of minutes. I just want to look. Ann, so sorry, need you to leave. Recovery from surgery. Thank you. Good night. Ann, I hope you are feeling better. Please get well, and you know, we appreciate you coming on here. So I'm gonna hop off now, but I want you guys. I want to thank you first for coming out. This is my second live stream. I've had a blast. I've shared some things with you. Let me know. I mean, if there's anything you'd love to see, let me know. You can drop me a message on any of the social medias at Big Stack Shop or at Big Stack Shop is any of the social medias. I don't really go on TikTok that much because I'm not a TikTok fan. You can leave a comment in one of my videos. You're more than welcome to do that. It can be totally off topic. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, any other way you can reach out. You can always email me, which is bigstacks@bigstackshop.com. You can email me there, or bigstackshop@gmail.com. You can reach me on both of those. I'll tell you what, if you guys, anyone that comments and does probably like the next handful of ones, let's say the next 5. So the next 5 people that give me great ideas on things to make, and if I pick them, my next 5 ones that I pick that are from user comments, they are going to get, ooh, I don't have it here. Yeah, I do. I'll send them. They just got to give me their address. When I message them back saying, give me your address, I'll send them a Big Stacks sticker and let's see if I got one over here. I don't have one. I do not have one that's made, but I have these little, this is the customizable leather key fob. I'll send you one of those and send you one of these. The next 5 user suggested projects that I decided to make, I'll send you guys that. Just when I hit you back and I say, what's your address? You need to give it to me. But I'll send you guys, as long as you're in the continental US, and if it's not too expensive to send outside the US, I'll do it there as well too. I don't have a fortune. I don't get paid big bucks to make these, but I really enjoy doing it. So you guys, check out the update to the worst leathercraft advice I've ever heard, which is how most of you found me. Check out that new video that I posted this past Friday, which is the TikTok edition. So it's all these things that I heard on TikTok that was garbage. And during the video, I ask you, I state what it is, and I say, is this good or bad advice? And I give you like 7-8 seconds to make up your mind and decide, and then I give you my thoughts on it. So it's kind of cool. Thank you guys for coming out. Enjoyed my time with you, and I will see you guys next time on Big Stacks Small Workshop. Thank you.